Hey, how's it going everybody? Welcome back to the channel. In this video, I want to see if I can make the font Bradley Hand look good. I've tried in the past with Comic Sans, so if you haven't seen that video, check it out right up here. Before we get started, please make sure you're subscribed to support the channel. Okay, so Bradley Hand is a font that is not very well liked, and for good reason. It is very overused. This is something that you saw a lot back in the 90s and kind of early 2000s. Anything where people were looking for a script font or like handwriting in any way, shape, or form, they usually defaulted to either Zapfino or Bradley Hand. And between the two of them, at least Zapfino actually looks good. Bradley Hand is kind of a script version of Papyrus. But part of me wonders, since we were able to make Comic Sans look the best that we possibly could by simply adjusting the kerning, can we do the same for Bradley Hand? Well, I understand my mission, and that's exactly what we're going to try to do in this video. So I have no clue exactly what I'm going to be doing here, but one thing that I want to do is just start at the beginning of the alphabet here, and I want to find a letter that at least looks good in Bradley Hand. So let's go ahead and do that. Not a big fan of the A, definitely not a big fan of the B, so I'm just going to keep going until we come across something that actually does at least somewhat look good. Okay, I actually really do like this H right here, so let's just kind of do this. I'm going to make a copy of this H over here, and what can we do with the letter H? Okay, so the first thing that I'm thinking of is kind of like a restaurant. So if we put together a restaurant based on the letter H, maybe we can go with like a Brazilian restaurant or something like that. That's actually one of the best restaurants I've ever been to. There used to be a Brazilian restaurant in Nashville, and it was delicious. Okay, so what can we do with the letter H for a Brazilian restaurant? Okay, well, every restaurant needs heat, so maybe we can just call the restaurant Heat. That actually sounds pretty cool. So we'll say Heat Brazilian Restaurant, okay? And it's actually very similar to the name of the restaurant that used to be in Nashville called Fire of Brazil. So with this one, we're just going to focus on the word heat, okay? So let's type that out. Let's make sure that we remove this H so that it doesn't spell Heath. And I'm just going to scale this down right here. And obviously, this is the default kerning for Bradley Hand. I'm not going to leave it like this. So let's go in and just kind of play around with the type a little bit and see what we can do. Okay, so I think we can do something right here where we kind of make that H go into the E. It is a little bit on the higher side. But what we can do is select the H and just bring the baseline down. We'll do a baseline shift right here. And then we'll bring this in over here. They don't have to be touching each other. They just need to be kind of close by because the H and the E are so close. And then we'll bring in that T to about right there. I think that that gives a pretty good balance. We may bring it in just a little bit more. Okay, so that's not looking amazing, but it's not looking too bad either. So I think what we can do here is we will find a font that can easily complement Bradley Hand. And let's just round this out to exactly 300 points. It's going to make it a lot easier to work with. And then for this font down here, we'll start with 150 points, which is half the size, but we're probably going to have to bring it down even more. So I'm just going to type out Brazilian Grill. There is no way that I'm going to leave this as Bradley Hand, so let's go explore some other fonts. We want something that can really complement this, and it needs to be very strong on its own as well. Okay, I like the idea of doing a slab serif, but we're definitely going to have to do some adjustments here. If not done correctly, these two fonts can really compete with each other. So what we're going to do is bring this all the way down even further to about 75 points, or actually even less. Let's bring it down to 50. That might be a little bit too small, so let's bring it up to about 65. And now we'll go ahead and select both of these and center both of them. Let's make sure that Align to Artboard is selected, and we're going to align to the center of the artboard. Okay, and then for the Brazilian Grill, I'm actually envisioning this to be opened a little bit, so we're going to increase the tracking here, maybe to about 150 points or so. It just kind of helps to give it a little bit more of an upscale feel. And now I'm going to go in here and adjust the kerning. All right, that's looking a lot better. And just a quick tip for kerning, anytime that you have the letter A right here where we've got this kind of slanted on both sides going on, what you want to do is you want to bring in the spacing just a little bit more than what the computer actually believes the optical kerning should be. And the reason for that is because the computer is actually accounting for the space here going straight up and down, but it's not accounting for that diagonal space right there. So make sure that you're paying attention to the overall spacing in between the letters themselves. They don't have to be exactly even, but they do need to be adjusted specifically between those two letters. If you'd like to learn even more about kerning, check out this video right up here. And you may have noticed that I added in one extra space between Brazilian and grill. I actually don't think that it's necessary now that I'm looking at it, but what we might do is just open it up just a little bit more. Not an entire space, but just a little bit more open space there. Okay, now that I've got everything exactly the way that I want, let's go ahead and create outlines for everything. And now I'm going to select my word heat right here. If you notice, we actually have two different paths going on here. So let's go over to the Pathfinder and click on Unite. That will unite everything together. And then after creating outlines, we also have some overlapping paths here as well. So let's go ahead and unite those. And now what we can do is give both of these a little bit more of a rounded size. So let's select heat right up here and go up here to transform. I'm going to bring this to 2.5 inches. And then we'll bring Brazilian grill down to 1/2 inch. And now I'm going to select both of these. I'm going to select heat as the key object. And we're going to make sure that that is aligned center, and it is. And now let's select both of these again and make heat our key object. And we're going to give 1/4 inch spacing in between these. And I want to try giving just a little bit more space. I think that looks better. Okay, so here's our overall logo for this. I'm thinking what I might do is play around with the idea of putting it inside of a box. This isn't something that I typically recommend doing, but I think it might actually work well for this particular situation. So what I've done here is draw a rectangle exactly the size of the entire logo. And now we're going to go over here and uncheck constrain width and height proportions. And I'm going to go to the very end of this number and type +1. And then we'll do the same thing for the height. All right, and now I'm going to swap the fill and the stroke right here. We're going to make sure that this rectangle goes all the way to the back. And now we can select heat and Brazilian grill. And I'm just going to change this to white. Okay, I think that that's actually looking really nice. So let's go ahead and move this up right here. And I want to create a color version of this. Okay, I went on Google and I found this hex value for blue fire. So we'll just color drop on that. And that is actually looking really cool. All right, I think those two colors work really well with each other. Okay, so now let's see if we can do something to kind of expand this out just a little bit. And what we'll do is just kind of make the cover of the menu. And so I'll grab these two blue ones over here. We're going to go ahead and unite those. And for something like this, probably the bottom left corner. And let's give plenty of negative space right here. We'll do 2 inches and then 2 inches here. And now let's go to the transform panel. We're going to change our reference point to the bottom left. And for an upscale look, usually you want to go a little bit on the smaller side. And then I'll do a dinner menu right up here. And we'll bring this down to about 40 points or so. And we'll bring in our same margins right there. Okay, and here's everything that we've created using Bradley Hand. Did we make it look good? I actually do think that it looks a lot better than it does with default kerning, but you have to remember that when you're starting off with something like this, it can be difficult to make it look good. However, if we were to continue working with this concept, I think it would actually work really well. Either way, let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you have an idea for a font that you'd like me to try to make look good, then let me know that as well. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please like, share, and subscribe to support the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.